and positive.
So the first thing that we're going to look at is how to label things. We are going to look at lines, rays, and segments. So the first thing is a line. A line has an arrow on both ends. Infinite points. What does the word infinite mean, guys? Goes on forever, keeps on going. So it has an arrow on both ways. This says label it 2 ways. There's actually 3 ways that you can label this. So you can label it by the points. So you can call it X, Y, and you would put a little line on the top of that. Or because it goes forever in both directions, it doesn't matter if you do it the other way. So you could actually also call it YX and put the little line above it. They have to provide you with a paper and a pencil. So why don't you write this down with me? And then the last way you can label it is sometimes the line will actually be given a name. This is line N. So you would just say it's line N. So you could say line A, line B, you know, whatever. It could just be given a name. So you can label it by the points and it doesn't matter which order they go in, or it could just be given a name. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is a ray. A ray only has a line on one end of it, so it only goes forever in one direction. The other side of it is stopped at a point. So you can label this one as TM. You can't do it the other way around, though. It has to start with the point and then go in the direction that it's going forever. I provided you with a paper and a pencil, so can you write this down for me? So that's the only way you can label that. Segments, what do you notice about that? Like the line went on forever both directions, the ray went on forever in one direction. What do you notice about a segment? Stops on both ends. So you could label this AB or BA. And the little line that you put over top, do you see how it makes sense? Like the line has arrows on it and the ray has one arrow on it and then the segment is just a little segment. Do you see how it's all very intuitive and it makes sense? All right. Congruent means equal, and we label them with little tick marks. So if this says WT, do you see how WT is right here? This little symbol means congruent. It's an equal with a tilde on top. That means congruent to TJ. What we do is we put a little tick mark in there, and that means they are congruent, which means the lengths are equal. So you just put a little tick mark in there. Go ahead and do that. You'll get used to seeing those all over the place because congruent means equal. So number 1, find the value of the variable, that's X, and the length of AD, if D is between A and B. So D is somewhere in between here. I don't know exactly where. I'm going to put it here. It doesn't matter. It just said in between. So put D somewhere in between those. It does not make a difference where. It's not to scale. When I say something's not to scale, do you guys understand what that means? It means it's like it's not exact. Like I didn't get out a ruler and measure any of that. Right? So it says AD is worth 2x. So this part right here is 2x. Pick up the pencil and write that down. DB is 6. So that's this part. And it says AB, that's the whole thing, is 14. Now, if you can't draw a swirly bracket like that, just draw like a squiggly line or something that indicates that it's the whole thing. Now I want you to use your common sense because you do have it. What's an equation that we could set up to solve for X? If we have this and we have this and we have the whole thing. 2x plus 6, good. If you add them together, equals 14, good. Very good, now write it down. So you have the I understand part, but you have to do the I'm writing it down part. Now this is why you have to pass Algebra 1 before you go on to geometry, is because you have to be able to solve this equation. That's why you have to pass this class to get to that class, make sense? What do you do to both sides? -6. See, because they're not going to teach you how to solve equations. It's understood that you know how to do this because you passed algebra. All right, so 2x equals 8, then what? Good, perfect. Now hold on. In geometry, you have to be really careful about what they asked for. It says, you have to read the directions. Find the value of the variable. We did that, that's x. But it also says find the length of AD. So how could we find the length of AD?
That was 2.
It's 8. Why is it 8? How did I get 8? If AD is worth 2x,
Oh, cause X is.
and X is 4, 2 times 4 is 8. So just be careful with following directions, because what happens is a lot of times people get this and then they forget to answer the other half of it. All right, go ahead and flip over. Let's try another one. Here, see, we're doing okay with this. Flip it over, pick up the pencil and write this down. Yes. Yeah. F is between S and V. You're going to have to draw this yourself. It says F is between S and V. So this is S, this is V. F is somewhere in between them. I don't know exactly where. Just put it somewhere. It doesn't matter. We're not measuring it. It isn't to scale. As long as it's in between, then you're good. Now we're going to fill all this in. And do I have to draw the picture? Yes, that's part of it. Okay. SF, so from here to here is 3x minus 1. So let's label that 3x minus 1. Go ahead and label your picture. Geometry is pictures and shapes and labeling stuff. Write it down. FV, that's this part, is 5. And SV, that's the whole thing, is 6x minus 8. All right, so let's think of an equation we could set up. If you have some common sense, you'll be able to get it. If you just read and write it down and then have some common sense, you'll be able to put it together. It'll be what? 3x minus 1. Good, plus 5.
Plus 6x.
Equals.
Equals 6x.
Good, write that down. And then you have to solve it. That's why you had to pass Algebra 1 to get to geometry, because solving equations like that is an assumed skill. They're not going to teach you how to solve an equation. You're supposed to know how to do that. So what would you do first to solve
Divide by 3x.
No. So first it's going to be like terms. You're going to combine like terms. -1 plus 5 is 4. Good. Then we're going to do plus 8 plus 8. Good job. So that'll be 3x plus 12 equals 6x.
Divide by.
We are going to divide, but not yet. Just hold on a second. We got to get the x's together, or you might be ahead of me if you did it differently. You're correct, but you have to actually show your steps.
-4.
You would subtract 3x. So you get 12 equals 6x minus 3x is 3x. It's 6x minus 3x. 6 minus 3 is 3. So divide by 3, x is 4. Now, real quick, they may have asked for something else. So reread the problem. Does it say to just find the variable, or do you have to do that and then also do something else? Are we done or not? What do you think? We need SF. That's this part right here. So we're going to write SF equals, and then how could we get that? It is 11. How'd you get that? Good. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. So write that down. All right, and then this last part that we're going to look at is midpoints. Just using what you know from being alive for 14 years. What is a midpoint?
Point in the middle.
Point in the middle. Very good. Halfway. It means the two sides are going to be congruent. All right. Divides into 2 equal parts. So look, M is the midpoint of AB. For the other ones I said, I don't know exactly where it's going to be. I know this is going to be in the center. M is the center. Put it right in the middle, or as close as you can. Again, it's not to scale. All right. And then these are congruent. So put your little tick marks in. AM is congruent to MB. Now we're going to label. AB is 40. Is that just half of it, or is AB the whole thing? Yeah, AB is the whole thing. So the whole thing is 40. So what does that mean AM is? Why is it 20? That's good. It's in the middle, and half of 40 is 20, and you just got to have some common sense. Now they're changing it. If AM, watch where I'm pointing, AM from here to here is 10. Hold on, let me finish this problem. AM is 10, then what is MB? Look where I'm pointing. 10. If you're not reading the letters, you have to focus. If AM is 10, Then MB is also 10, and AB would be what?
AB was 40.
20, right? But we changed it. It's kind of like this was problem A and this was problem B.
Sorry.
Here, let me change it again. Let's see, let's say AM is 50. If AM is 50, what's MB? 50, and AB is 100. Let's try it backwards the other way. Say AB is 60. Then what's AM? 30. Good, perfect. All right, you guys got it. Yes, go ahead. Thank you for letting me finish that. Now, did you go ahead and put a pass in? Get out your Chromebook and go put a pass in. You're gonna miss this though. G is the midpoint of FH. Do we have to draw it? Yes, that's part of what geometry is. You're gonna have to get used to doing that. So you've got FH, and then G is in the middle. Sammy, is this bringing back stuff to you? Are you remembering this from this year? Now, if it's the midpoint, you're gonna put your tick marks in there, because it means those are equal. Now we're gonna label. It says GH is 20, so let's label that. From here to here is 20. FH, that's the whole thing, is 3x minus 1. So that's what they're giving to us. So GH is 20, FH is 3x minus 1. Okay, but look, if GH is 20, what do I know about GF? Also 20, good job. And so that means the whole thing is how much? 40, all right? So what's an equation that we could set up to solve this? 3x minus 1 equals 40. Good, perfect. And then what would you do to both sides? This is where algebra 1 comes in. This is where you're solving. Well, we're going to add 1. 3x equals 41. And then divide by 3. That's actually not going to reduce, so we're just going to leave it as 41/3. It's kind of weird that that came out to that, but oh well. Now, read back through. Did we answer everything that they asked us to do? Do we have to find anything else as well? No, it just says set up the equation and solve. It doesn't say to go back and find what FH is worth, but it would be 40 anyway. Yeah, when Will comes back. All right, let's label this one. C is the midpoint of BD. So you're going to make a segment BD, put C in the middle. And then we're going to start labeling. BC is 4x minus 5. So from here to here is 4x minus 5. DB, is that the other part or is that the whole thing? The whole thing. So you just have to be careful with your labeling. The whole thing is 10x minus 35. Before I even read any further though, look at, if BC is 4x minus 5, then CD is 4x minus 5. If that's the midpoint, it means these two things are congruent. You can put your tick marks in if you want to. So it says find the value of x and the length of BD. So once we find x, we're going to have to plug back in. Let's set up an equation. It would be 4x minus 5 plus what? 4x minus 5 equals 10x minus 35. Good, perfect. And then we're going to solve it. What would you do first? Again, this is you're not going to be taught this next year. They're going to assume you know how to do this. Like, good. So 4x and 4x, 8x. You hanging in there with me? Good job. -5 and -5 minus 10 equals 10x minus 35. Miss Cole, I have to write this? Yeah, it's not that hard, guys. Thank you. All right, then what? Minus 10x. That will give you -2x minus 10 equals -35. There's a lot of negatives in this one, so just be really careful. All right, almost there. Then what? Plus 10. -2x equals, what would that be? -35 plus 10, -25. Divide by -2. Now the negatives cancel, and I'll just go ahead and be your calculator here. That's going to come out to 12.5. Came out to something and a half. But we're not done. What did they also tell us to find? Go back. You always have to go back and reread the directions in geometry. Yeah, BD. So BD is this one. You would take 12.5, plug it back in for X. I'll just type that in real quick. 10 times 12.5 minus 35 came out to 90. So real quick, follow up. If the whole thing is 90, what is each of these parts worth? 45. Good. Perfect.